Good evening and welcome to the commemorative area of the Australian War Memorial for this special last post ceremony. My name is David Sutton. Shortly, a current serving member of the Australian Defence Force will read tonight's story. We would like to acknowledge the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland, who continue to watch the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. If you are able, please stand and join in singing the Australian National Anthem. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depth of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Now, we will hear the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century.
Good evening. My name is Lieutenant Commander Darren Cooper, and I am currently serving in the Royal Australian Navy. Today we remember and pay tribute to Gunner Ivan Lee Alden Hatcher. Ivan Hatcher was born on the 6th of May 1922 in Cygnet, Tasmania, one of 4 children born to Walter and Lily Hatcher. Following his education, Hatcher lived in Melbourne, where he worked as a jewellery salesman. Before enlisting in the 2nd Australian Imperial Force, he gained military experience by serving in the local senior cadets and later in the 5th Battalion of the Victorian Scottish Regiment, a local militia. On the 20th of May 1940, Hatcher joined the Royal Australian Artillery in Queenscliff, Victoria. He served in the Coastal Battery defending Rabaul on the island of New Britain, off Papua New Guinea's east coast. This artillery defence battery formed part of Lark Force, a mixture of New Guinea volunteer rifles and Australian units tasked with defending the important Allied airfields at Lakunai and Vanuatu, protecting the seaplane base at Rabaul, and providing early warning to Australian authorities as Japanese forces assaulted the islands to Australia's north. Hatcher and the troops of Lark Force spent months in New Britain adjusting to the tropical conditions, training and preparing defences for the likely Japanese invasion. In early January 1942, Japanese forces commenced increasingly intensive bombing and air raids over the island. By the 22nd of January, they had virtually destroyed 24 Squadron, the Air Force unit providing Lark Forces air support. In the early hours of 23rd of January 1942, a 5,000-man strong Japanese force attacked New Britain. and the 1,400 defenders were completely overrun. The commander of Lark Force ordered a withdrawal on the basis of every man for himself. In the chaos, only 400 members of Lark Force were able to escape the island. Another 160 were massacred by the Japanese at Toll Plantation, and over 800, Hatcher included, were taken as prisoners of war. On the 22nd of June 1942, Hatcher, the surviving prisoners of war, and hundreds of civilians were loaded onto the ship, the Montevideo Maru, for transportation from Rabaul to Hainan Island in the South China Sea. On the 1st of July 1942, the ship was tragically struck by a torpedo from an American submarine, the USS Sturgeon. The Montevideo Maru sank in a little over 10 minutes, and Hatcher is listed as one of more than 1,000 civilians and Australian prisoners of war to have lost their lives. Hatcher was 20 years old. The sinking of the Montevideo Maru is considered the worst maritime disaster in Australian history. According to a surviving Japanese crewman, Australians in the water sang Auld Lang Syne to their trapped mates as the ship sank beneath the waves. Hatcher's name is recorded on the Rabaul Memorial in Papua New Guinea, which commemorates over 1,200 Australians who lost their lives fighting around New Britain and New Ireland who have no known grave. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour among more than 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Gunner Ivan Leo Alden Hatcher, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world. They shall grow not old, as we who are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. Lest we forget.
We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozieres or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. We thank you for watching and wish you all a very good evening.